First in February, the university lecturers across the country came together and said it doesn't look like the federal government is serious in meeting their demands. So they began the first strike action. And when that was not done, they rolled it over. And later on in June, they now rolled it. It's now 155 days since the classrooms have been shut and students out of classrooms, students not learning. They're sitting at home idle. The federal government looks as though confused with the state of affairs. The president in Dara said it's unfair what ASUU is doing to the nation and should think about the future of these children or these students. Now, ASUU said it is the federal government that is inconsistent and insensitive to the demand. And in fact, what they are fighting for is about the good of the student and of the nation. Today, the president has given an ultimatum to the Minister of Education, asking him that in 2 weeks, it needs to propose a solution and come back to him. Now, he's meeting today with some ministers and heads of departments and etc. is coming several weeks after ASUU has said that the federal government is not serious about meeting their demands, and so they will go on with the strike action. ASUU has also accused the federal government of not paying some of their members of that union. Where do we go from here? We describe it as a national embarrassment on this program because the nation does not care whose interest is met here. What we are concerned about is the interest of the larger Nigerian, of the nation at large. That is what we're concerned about. And whosoever needs to have fixed this thing needed to have done the work a long time ago, not to have allowed the classroom to be shut 155 days. Tonight, let's get to look at it. Does this ultimatum, will it work? Is it like any other order given by the president? What is ASUU saying? ASUU held a press conference a few minutes ago here in Abuja, but tonight we have the president of ASUU, the Association of Sub-Union of Universities, ASUU, the Union of the University Lecturers. Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke joins us live in our studio here. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us. Some of us are upset. Some of us are not happy. We cannot hide our feelings about what has become a disgrace to this nation. When other nations that are even smaller than ours here, the fact that ASUU began, some of us had felt the pain and the brunt of ASUU strike when we were in school. And years later, we're still seeing ASUU strike. It is a disgrace. Now, the federal government or the president said 2 weeks ultimatum. How does that come to your union?
Well, as a union, and we also look at history, look at past presidents, until the issue are resolved, I don't believe that this will not even make any difference. But this is not the first ultimatum given on this strike. Remember, when NIREC, Nigerian Interreligion Council, met with the president on the 1st of February, he also set up a 3-man committee to quickly resolve this issue within 1 month. And that was the Chief of Staff, Minister of Labor, and Minister of Education. February 1st, it is in your program. That committee didn't invite us for a meeting until we roll over the strike in May. That's where they invited us for a meeting. And we all went. They call it tripartite plus. With NLC, NLC gave ultimatum, and they call a meeting. That committee called a meeting. And after we have finished discussing, we agreed that we will give the government 6 weeks. We agreed on 6 weeks, that within 6 weeks, we should resolve. We were thinking of 3 weeks, but the NIDA insisted on 6 weeks. And that was on the 22nd of May. We are in July. We agreed on 6 weeks. That has expired. Nothing happened. Now another 12 days. Where we are, if we are serious, if we really want to resolve this problem, it should not take 2 days. And I will give you the reasons. All the issues have been discussed. Government negotiators have met with us. We have all of us a joint draft agreement for them to look at and come back to us and say sign. We are still waiting, and that happened on the 16th of June, more than a month ago. They have not come back. Does it take you 2 weeks to look at what you have negotiated? If there are issues, you go back to the committee and resolve them. Does it take you 2 weeks? That's one day.
The Professor Munzali Jibril Committee
yes.
Give proper solution.
In
solution
in 2021.
Yeah.
2020, that was in May 2021.
21, yes.
We did the joint agreement to go back and get their permission to sign. It took 1 year when we started strike before they came back. 1 year. Should we take those periods if we are really serious? That is the problem.
Because the federal government will say that if ASUU is willing to yield, that they will end, the strike will end. That it was on you, and it was you. In fact, the president, you heard what the president said in Dora, that it was your union that is frustrating the process. Look, and your union should think about the future of this country.
Give me a little time to go to the background.
Absolutely.
You see, when people go to misinform the president, you get what he's saying. When people go to when the Minister of Labour go to misinform the president, you see what he's saying. Let me give you the reasons. This negotiation started in March 2017. That's when we started. When we were agitated over a long time, the government agreed that it will set up their panel in March 2022, headed by Dr. Wale Babalakin.
Yeah.
And it took more than 2 years to ring my rolling, insist that a student must pay school fees of 1 million. How can the student of Nigeria win minimum wage? Nobody end up to 1 million. More than 60 million up to 1 million will pay school for 1 million. And you know, he had problem in Unilag and it was removed. And in 2020, Munzali Jibril Committee was set up by the government again after our agitation. And Munzali Committee also reached an agreement with us. They were to go back. Instead of looking at the issues, they look at the person. They started abusing that Munzali Jibril, a renowned professor. So they have a chairman, executive secretary of ES early long ago. So they're abusing the person rather than the issue. The same Minister of Labour. Now they say it's bad. They removed it and brought the
BRICS
committee. BRICS committee said, for the first time they told us, give us some time. I want to consult with all these ministers and MDAs. They met with Salary and Wages Commission, Minister of Labour, Budget and Finance. They told us, and they gave us their report and gave us. We now say, go back and get government minimum position and bring back to us. And they went back, and within 2 weeks they came back and said, and we had the write-up saying government position on all the issues, which we accepted. And I give you this, and we can challenge them, we'll show them the document. What they gave us is what they accepted with minor corrections. The minor correction we will look at was, as academic staff, as an academic staff, if you apply a young graduate as secretary assistant on level 8, on level 7 US, he cannot be promoted beyond that rank until he gets a master's. Therefore, he must use him. If you can't get the funding, which the nation is not funding again, he has to use the money to do a master's program before he can move to the next level. When you get your master's, for you to move to senior lecturer, you must get a PhD. You have to also use your salary to do your PhD and do publication, because without adequate publication in world journals, not in Nigerian local journals, you cannot go to a senior lecturer. And when you go to a senior lecturer, for you to move the next level, you must have a lot of publication on high impact journal, and you must supervise a large number of PhD and MSc before you can move to the next level. So, which means that part of that salary you are paying us is for, we call it work tools, to do your research and what have you. And we are saying you cannot tax research, tools for research. With the insisting, that's what we disagree with them.
That they are going to tax whatever
you are giving to me for my research, you tax it. Is
that what is operational in other sectors?
No. That's what peace is doing to us now. That's why a professor now earn less than a new professor earn less than 300,000. That is why that's what a peace is doing. You are taxing everybody up. If you're working tooth material, you're taxing a lot of them.
Let me ask you, Prof.
Yes.
Compared to other professions,
yes,
what is an average salary of a professor?
The average salary of a professor, the average, a professor at the bar today is about 400,000 a month.
Averagely?
That is the highest rank after you have spent about 10 years as professor. When you are starting is about 300,000 as professor. At the end, you earn 400,000. That is it. But we compare it to other area. That high impact area, the most high impact area in the whole world is academics, not NNPC. Not central bank. It's academics. Where you take your best brain to, those who make first class. For you to be a lecturer, you must be a second class upper. That's your best brain, and that's what they look at in the world. But in this country, and when you look at our history, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the only people, public servant that earn more than the professor is the Chief Justice of the Federation. The professor earn more than the minister, earn more than the permanent secretary. You can check the record.
But in Nigeria, it is different.
I'm not in Nigeria. I'm talking of Nigeria in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s.
No, I'm saying Nigeria of today.
Today, They have been relegated. They don't even earn anything. Check what the senator earns.
So that is what you're fighting for.
That is one of the things.
One of the things you're fighting for. That the pay of the lecturers need to be looked into.
And you see,
and the working tools also need to be looked into.
We're not even talking about Nigerian system. University universal. When you go to Ghana, University of Ghana, any of them, you see Nigerians working there. You see people with Asian working there, Indian working there. In Nigeria, like I said, in system we're being paid, well paid. When you go to Nigerian university, you see Europeans, people from Europe, from America, working in Nigerian university, because there was pay parity. But today they have all left. Even Ghana used to be here, they have left. So when you are comparing the salary of a lecturer in Nigeria, in the whole world, you look at the world, we're looking at African average. You look at least, the minimum you can take is African average, so that African student can come here, African lecturer can come here, the way we are going out. But today you don't see any African coming to Nigerian universities.
But where have you come to on that agreement on the pay parity?
They have brought something at least that will increase what you are earning today. That at least if you cannot attract lecturers from outside, you can attract your first class to look at university as a way to teach, rather than going to the banks or go to the MPs. And that was the idea in those days. If you have a first class, no company will take you. You want to work in the university. So that's one. And two, to ensure that those who are already on ground, I can tell you, look at the history. As we are speaking now, there is no year we don't lose 400 to 500 lecturers going abroad. We call it brain drain. And none is coming. So we are losing, just like the doctors. The doctors are leaving. And none is coming in. Which means you use your money to train your doctor here, he leaves the country. The nation is missing. You train your academics and leave the country. To another country where they know the value of education. So that is where that's what we are. That's number one. Number two is the payment procedure, the payment platform. We have challenged this government that name one country in the world, just anywhere in the world, where the salaries of lecturers are paid from the office of Accountant General. We said name one. You know the implication? Very heavy. This month, and they are doing it deliberately, this month your salary is cut. You cannot get it back. You have to go to Abuja. So you have a lecturer in Sokoto who earns 200,000 a month, 100,000 a month. They cut his salary. He has to come to Abuja, pay his airfare, pay for accommodation, just to correct your pay problem. And then explain with their peace. As I'm speaking to the federal government, told the whole world, when we said the strike, that they have consequential adjustment of minimum wage. That was 2019. That they have paid to all the workers in Nigerian university while we were on strike, and we're praising him. But I was speaking to you, all the universities of agriculture, nobody have been paid a dime.
Up to now.
Till now, and the payment was made in May. Till now, they have not paid anybody in universities of agriculture. In universities where they pay, they selectively pay people. Pay some here, left some, pay this, left some, pay some half, even pay some double, which are collective.
I mean,
so that is the crisis with IPs who say, this thing cannot work.
Some of your colleagues are already saying they are going to back up from the strike and resume work.
There's none. They should name them.
Some of your colleagues in the medical...
Yes, name them.
Yeah, I've just named for you.
Which university?
Some of the, I don't know the university right now, but some of them in the medical sector.
If you see the Minister of Labour, say Udus, the last time it was Channel or TVC, that University of Usman Afodo, that they have left. But those people have responded that it's not true. It's lies. Two.
So you are still all together?
Look, let me tell you.
I'm asking, Prof. All the unions are still all together.
We are together.
And what is your stand today?
Our stand today is that this system has to change. It changes in such a way that we get to a stage where the children of a school teacher, the children of a driver, or photographer, and what have you, will enter the classroom and sit the next thing to the child of a minister, to the child of a government. In the same classroom in a Nigerian university, you go to the hostel, a child of Oshibaloye will sit with the child of a president in the same hostel, sleep on the same bed. That is our own idea. What you are having is a class struggle, and we should know it. You have a group who ensure that their children, with our own resources, are paid, go to good environment, good hostels, good classroom, where you sit down, you have access to your laboratory equipment, everything, and then you left the other man to rot in, so that the children of the ordinary people, who form about 90%, will just be there. Whether you take a lecture from windows, sitting on bed floor, and what have you, so that when those people come back to this country, those their children come back with good education, they took the juicy job.
So now, the IPs and the conflict with UTAS,
yes.
Where are you at? How many percentage? And is the federal government willing to accept the UTAS? And that is the payment platform that university lecturers have developed themselves.
Yes.
As against IPs where the federal government
in a normal
runs.
climb, we should not be talking about percentage. But for the first time we were done, it scored 77, which they didn't do well. We did the second one, it scored 99.3. And we shouldn't be talking about percentage. When this COVID started, it's countries who were serious called their academics and say, look for solution for us. And after they tested over a period of time, and then they implemented, is it not? The same thing. When we have a country like Nigeria, with the intellectual you have, people like you, intellectuals, and you want to determine how you want to pay your worker salary, and you have to go abroad and pay a country, some people, a company in dollars, to tell you how to pay their worker salary, it's slavery.
You are referring to IPs.
Yes, it's slavery. And they brought this so-called solution, it's slavery.
So now your grievance about IPs is the fact that it doesn't aggregate your payment properly.
That is one.
And I mean, it aggregates it like a normal civil servant.
Good, that is number one.
That is your grievance.
But our major issue
is
that the university system is an autonomous body. The president, who is the visitor, appoint a team, not a governing council, to run the affair. And the law is very clear that it is the council that runs the finances of the university. So
you want the accountant general to hand off the finances of the university?
Let me finish.
Is that the picture?
Let me put it properly. So, and that any circular from the ministry, as far as university is concerned, it's in the law. The University Miscellaneous Act is void. That is the language, is void. And what is the idea? The university runs, it's autonomous, but it runs its finances by a body set up by the president. In the civil service, there's no such body, governing council university, is it there? So that you can have areas of check. The university will go to the budget office and present its budget, say this is what we are going to spend next year. The budget office look at it, and that next year we are going to recruit 10 people. The budget look at it and approve that money for the university. That budget now go to National Assembly of individual university, to National Assembly. National Assembly will look at the budget, you come and defend it and say, 50 billion or 1 billion have been released for you to run your affair for 1 year. Are you following? And you basically come down and plan how to run that, spend that money. And every 5 years, the visitors want to send a panel to go and check if that money go to the university will properly use. That time there were checks. If a lecturer was not properly paid this month, he goes to his bursary, he made the issue, the next month is corrected because it's with him. You don't have to go to Abuja or anywhere. But what do you have today? There's no more checks. As we come today, that is the crisis in Nigeria today. And thank God, recently the EFCC arrested the man who is running that money for allegedly he misappropriated 90 billion. No more checks. Those checks from the vice chancellor to the governing council, from the governing council to the budget office, from budget office to the National Assembly, and you come out, it's no more there. Now let one man sit down and pay everybody, and you can see the corruption that has arisen. And that's where we are. Those checks that were there in those days that will tell a VC who to employ, who not to employ, the number to employ is no more there. So we have opened this university to external interferences that the university today, go and check, go to the university. What the pride we have in those days, the culture that a vice chancellor should be in those days, we call it ivory tower, above the ordinary tower, have been taken over by the government. If VC want to employ somebody, run to head of service, to say, I want you just travel abroad and saw a beautiful Nigerian who have a PhD, a professor in a very essential area, and you want to employ him. He goes to a Academic General to beg to give you permission. By the time you do that, he has left. He said, you are not a serious country. That is how they have reduced our university.
Now, so with all of these grievances and demands,
yes.
And the federal government, the president has given 2 weeks ultimatum for this to be resolved. Do you think it is possible to resolve this in 2 weeks?
2 weeks is too long.
You think the problem is on the table of the Minister of Education?
The issue of the negotiation have been completed by both sides. With me, that one is gone. Issue of salary, issue of negotiation, issue of funding.
So what is stopping it?
Good. That is, with that, so just come back to us and say, we have agreed, sign. That should not take 2 days.
Do you think the federal government does not have the money?
You see, my brother, let me tell you the way you are today. If you have a crisis in your house, you will source for money to resolve that crisis. If you have a crisis in you have a source of money. The way that they are sourcing for money to do all sorts of things today, we are told that they spend billions to feed children in school. Is it correct? How many children have you seen being fed? This says we are giving this thing for, what do you call it? Management of, what do you call it? This is their program in Ministry of Finance. They are released just 200 billion. what do you call it, entrepreneur or something, 200 billion. Your university are closed for Simon. You didn't release 1 billion, 200 billion. But you release money to groups and say you want to, because the election is coming, you want to go at 10,000 in this village, 5,000. It is the priority that you place on education. When you check the world today, go to Ghana. Ghana today, they were here, we want to say Ghana must go, but now they are telling us that Nigeria must go. Why? Because they funded their education. In Ghana, they give between 16 and 20% of their budget to education on a yearly basis. In South Africa, it's the same thing. You can check. And that's why today, Nigerians spend no less than 200 billion to pay to Ghana University, 200 billion every year school fees to Ghana University.
Nigerians?
Nigerians, yes. So that is our problem.
So where do we go from here, Prof?
It's very easy. Government should prioritize education as #1 priority in the country, because all of us here, whether you are in the ministry of whether wherever you must pass through the school. And now that you have killed it, we are now wasting our money on foreign countries. Last year, as CBN, that Nigeria spent 1.6 trillion as school fees to other countries in the world. 1.6 trillion would turn around all the universities in Nigeria and bring it to standard where people will come from outside. So we go outside, nobody comes in.
So from your own end, yes, you don't have a problem.
On our side, we have, on the issue of UTAS.
In the next 1 hour, if the federal government comes and you sign, you will go back to the classroom.
On UTAS, we have finished the test. The third time we are testing, and we passed. But I know they will come back to nobody and say, the report we have. The last time we went to meet with the chief of staff, they came down and said it failed. But we now brought the evidence we have to show that we scored 93%. I gave a copy to the chief of staff. And they couldn't talk again. So what we are saying, look.
Are there people benefiting from this from this whole thing?
Definitely. That's the
what
problem.
Is their benefit for schools to be shut?
Let me tell you, let me use, for example, the issue of UTAS and IPs. Beneficiary. Every year, Nigerian pays on behalf of each staff in Nigeria, we pay in dollar to a foreign company.
To run the platform?
To run the platform. Every year, we pay in dollar to a company on each person, not as a collective. That's why they are struggling to put more people. The more people you put in, the more you make for those companies. And when you check those companies, you are sure some big Nigerians have interest in those companies. Go and check.
So that's one of the problems.
That's one of the problems.
I mean, do you think that the Minister of Education could play a very major role in this?
Good. Two, let me also give you the third reason. This strike that university are shut down. Those who run affairs of Nigeria, those who run the affairs, National Assembly, executive arm, this thing, they don't have any problem. Their children are not here. Their families are not here. If they were here, if the children of all the ministers, children of all the senators are all in our public university, this strike will not last 2 days. I'll give you an example. When the aviation people wanted to shut down the country, National Assembly called them immediately and settled them quickly overnight. Because they all fly, they cannot, because fear will not allow them to pass through again. They fly, they quickly resolve it. But universities are closed.
But the Minister of Labour says his children are in public schools.
Yeah, go and check.
So, I mean, you are ready to go back to the classroom.
I am very unhappy because I love my children. I love my students. I like teaching. I love teaching.
So,
I want to teach.
The ball is in the court of the federal government.
Completely.
Do you think the federal government is sincere enough?
Nigeria should tell them that for the first time, you see, that for the first time, let's see how we can bring our university to how it was in 1970, how it was in 1980s, how it was in 1960s. We should bring our university back to that level. When I was a student in Rivers State University of Science and Technology then, my department, there were 5 foreign lecturers teaching in the department. Somebody from Poland, was Lognatan. Somebody from Sierra Leone, Sudan. Somebody from Poland. Somebody from Ethiopia, Argentina, and Nigeria. 5 in one department. But today you will not see any university will have 5 foreign lecturers. And I'll give you the reason. The average lecturer pay in Nigeria, average professor, is between $600 and $690 a month. $600 and $690 a month. In South Africa, the minimum professor earned $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
All right. Prof, we need to close now. And Nigerians are really upset about it. I know spoken with a lot of Nigerians who are not happy. Nobody will be happy when you have a country where university classrooms are being shut for 150 days plus. Now, the question is, Prof, you stand up from here today. Are you giving Nigerians your commitment that as far as your union is concerned, you'll be sincere and you ensure that you do whatever in your powers to end this strike?
If we are not sincere, if we are not people who are committed, we would have abandoned this struggle. And if you know what will happen? In the next 2 or 3 years, Nigerian universities will be like our primary and secondary public. Are they still existing? They have had the average lecturer in the university.
So you're sincere about it? Nigerians to hold in trust.
If we're not sincere, we will not be holding, government will be holding our 5-month salary and we are still on strike, looking for how to raise money for our children.
So you are looking at the future?
If we are not sincere, we would have gone back.
So we are holding you to in trust, isn't it?
The government should change our system. My challenge, and I want to plead with the president. I want to plead with him on behalf of Nigerian children who cannot afford it, that the legacy he should leave behind this country is that he transformed Nigerian educational system.
All right.
I can do it with this our struggle.
You don't need 2 weeks to do it.
It doesn't need 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Professor Emmanuel Osudeke.
Thank you.
The president of the Association of Start of University. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.